a really good month. Hello Bookworm family, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Danny. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell because I'm posting every day for the month of December for Vlogmas. And if you guys are not already following me on Instagram, please be sure to do that. It is at _dancing_bookworm. I post on there full book reviews and bookish content. So if you watch my video from yesterday, I'm in the same outfit because I'm filming it at the same time, and I didn't feel like changing my shirt, so that was that, or my hat. So I'm in the same outfit, it's fine. So I am just going to jump right into this wrap up because I read 18 books in the month of November. Now my highest that I've read so far in a month this year is 19, and I read it in April when we were like dead quarantined. So I am really excited that I got through 18, even with work and all the crazy stuff that I do. I did have a little bit of a break with Thanksgiving and stuff like that, but I still feel like 18 is really good for like a normal month for me. So I'm pretty happy about it. So in those 18 books, I'm looking over here for my stats, but I read 3 realistic or contemporaries, 1 mystery, 7 sci-fi fantasies. It was a sci-fi fantasy month for sure. 1 nonfiction and memoir, 1 poetry, and 5 others. So that would be like classic, horror, or like historical, anything like that falls in other. So for reading level, I read 4 children's books and 11 middle grade books. That's because it was Believe-a-thon. Thank you, Gav, because I got to get through so many of my middle grade books. I actually don't have many unread middle grade books on my bookshelf anymore, so I gotta go buy more. Then I read 1 young adult, 1 new adult, and 1 adult book. So it was really just middle grade and children's books this month, which I am so happy about because I really needed to make a dent in those, and I definitely made a dent in them. For format, I read 9 paperbacks, 1 hardcover, 1 ebook, 6 audiobooks, and 1 graphic novel. For star ratings, I had 1 1-star, 5 2 stars, 6 3 stars, 2 4 stars, and 4 5 stars. So overall, the average rating was kind of like meh. But for the most part, I read some really good books. The 4 5-star books that I read are some of my favorites so far this year, so I'm happy about that. So we're just going to jump into talking about each book now. So the first book that I read was Escape from Mr Lemoncellos Library by Chris Grabenstein. This is about a boy named Kyle Keeley who really loves games. So when he finds out that the local library is opening and has a massive escape game that the kids have to go in, solve clues to escape the library, he is all about it. Plus his favorite game maker of all time is the one running the library. So he is super excited, but when he gets in there, he realizes that not everything's what it seems, and there's a lot of mysteries to be uncovered. So this book I gave 5 stars. It definitely had a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory vibe. I loved all the different sections of the library and the characters and the colorful cast. It was just so fun to read. This was for the TBR prompt of an ugly cover because, I mean, even though the colors are pretty, it's kind of your basic middle grade like graphic cover. It's not like ugly, but it's just not like so beautiful I can't take my eyes off of it kind of thing. But yeah, this book was really good. Again, I gave it 5 stars, and this is part of a series that I do plan to continue reading. So I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys pick it up if you guys want a good middle grade book, because I heard people give this mixed reviews, but I really enjoyed the fact that it was like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and had that like eccentric owner kind of vibe to it and kids really striving for something. Like, it was just a fun read. So the next book that I read on ebook, and it was The Haunted Mansion, Frights of Fancy. This is by Sina Grace, and it's about a ghost who is more of a modern ghost, and she's really friendly, and she's kind of been haunting like more happier places, but she gets to the haunted mansion and she wants access to live there, and they basically tell her she has to be a lot scarier. So she goes on a mission to revamp the entire haunted mansion, the one from Disney World, and tries to get all the ghosts to be scarier so that she can earn her place there. I gave this book 2 stars. I love the Haunted Mansion. It's one of my favorite rides in Disney World, but I just didn't really like the writing or like the characters or anything. Like they just weren't anything special to me. I thought it could have been a lot more epic, and it was kind of lame. But it was like the graphics were cool. They were very Haunted Mansion-esque, and I, for the most part, just enjoyed the part of like knowing the ride and like seeing all the elements of the ride within the graphic novel. So this didn't have a TBR prompt. I just wanted to read it, and I put it part of my Believe-a-thon TBR, so that's kind of why I made it a priority this month. But yeah, it was okay. I don't think it's a part of a series. I think she just wrote it for the anniversary of the Haunted Mansion ride in like Disneyland, not the Disney World one, but like the Disneyland one. So yeah. So the next book that I read was Frazzled, Everyday Disasters and Impending Doom by Bucky the Vaught. This is about a girl who is starting middle school, and she hates everything about being in the middle. She's the middle child. She hates everything with the word middle in it, pretty much. But even worse, she hates that she's starting middle school without her thing. She doesn't have like an activity she's really good at. She doesn't have like anything she's particularly interested in, so she starts this undercover mission kind of at school that ends up getting her in a lot of trouble, but she's really determined to make it work and to make it her thing. So I did give this 2 stars. I thought the graphics were really simple and cute and would definitely be fun for a middle schooler, but it just, you know, didn't interest me because I'm an adult. But I was reading it for Believe-a-thon. This was actually for the TBR prompt to read a middle grade book, so I did read that for Bookerty, and it is part of a series. This is the first one in the series. It was cute, but I'm definitely not going to continue on with the series, but it was definitely a cute book, and I think middle schoolers would really enjoy it. But again, the graphics are kind of simple, and they're just kind of cute, and I feel like I've seen better, so that wasn't really like a saving grace for me, but like the storyline was alright. The next one that I read was an audiobook, and that was The Magician's Elephant by Kate D. Camillo. This is about a young boy who, when he was very little, his family died, and he believes that included his younger sister. But when he goes to a fortune teller, his fortune teller tells him that his sister is still alive, and the way to find her is through the magician's elephant. So when a magician comes to town and accidentally releases an elephant that injures a couple people, he is determined that that is the elephant that will help him find his long-lost sister. So this book didn't have a TBR prompt either, but I did read it for Believe-a-thon as the audiobook, and I gave it 2 stars. It was alright. I really liked the reading of it. I thought the reading was really well done, but the overall plotline was just kind of meh to me. Like, it had like almost like a Charles Dickens vibe to it, and I really liked some of Kate D. Camillo's books, like Because of Winn-Dixie is one of my favorite middle grades, but this one just didn't really have much for me. I liked the concept of the elephant, but I wish the elephant was like a bigger part of it, considering it was called The Magician's Elephant. So I don't know, I was just kind of like at a meh for it. But yeah, there were some sad parts, but it did kind of end with a hopeful ending, which I enjoyed. So, but yeah, it wasn't like my favorite book. So then the next one I read was The Hidden Girl, A True Story of the Holocaust by Lola Rain Kaufman and Lois Metzger. So this is about Lola's real life as a girl living in living in Ukraine during Nazi reign. When she's separated from her family, she is forced to hide in a bunch of places that are just torturous for a 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl. Okay, sorry if my angle changed, but like Riley woke up like scream crying, and I'm babysitting right now, so I had to go check on her. She's fine. She's with grandma right now because grandma has more patience for the scream crying than Aunt Danny does. Anyway, so I did give this book a 4 out of 5 stars because the places she had to hide, like she had to hide under a barn, like, and not stand for 9 months. Like, that is crazy to me. I can't even lay in my bed without rolling over like 6 or 7 times, like in a half an hour. So I can't imagine 9 months not being able to move. Like, her growth was stunted, so many horrible, horrible things. And this is just truly an inspiring story, but also horribly sad and just the worst time in American history. I mean, it wasn't really in America, but like, we learned about it because we went to war for it and stuff like that. But like, it was a horrible time in history. I sounded stupid right there. Forgive me. I promise I'm smart sometimes. Alright, so the next book that I read was an audiobook, and it was The Black Flamingo. This is by Dean Atta. This was for the TBR prompt of an author not from the USA because he's from the UK. And this is about a boy who is kind of coming to terms with his sexuality. It takes place over his entire lifespan from like childhood to like new adult age, so like college. And he's really having a hard time because he feels like he's the only gay person around, and he feels really outcasted by other people. And he ends up discovering a drag community in college, and that's where he kind of becomes his own and learns how to speak for himself. This is written in verse, and it's absolutely beautifully written. I loved it, and I did give it a 5-star. I don't want to say too much about it because I really feel like not knowing anything about it going in was the best thing that could possibly have happened, because it was just like a beautiful, tender read, and I just got really sucked in. It left me very just inspired and like comfortable in my own skin, learning about somebody who is learning to be comfortable in their skin. So it was a beautiful book, absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend that one, especially if you need a good like LGBTQ plus rep book. I feel like it had so much explanation of not only like the community, but also of like how people can be accepting without fully being accepting, and how sometimes people's lack of acceptance is hatred towards themselves for having feelings towards the same sex. So that was really interesting to me. It was something that is very pertinent in my life, because I know people like that. So it's very, very, very good book. So then I had another 5-star book right afterwards, and that was Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the second book in the Nevermore series. I don't want to give any spoilers, but the Nevermore series is basically about Morgan Crow, who is a cursed child. She is destined to die on her 12th birthday, and she is swept up to the land of Nevermore, where she must compete in trials in order to stay a part of this place called the Wondrous Society, where she will develop a knack and a skill. In this specific book, she is really struggling with her specific knack. She's getting bullied a lot, and she's also discovering some secrets that she's not supposed to be stumbling upon, and she is. So she's kind of getting herself into a little bit of trouble. So this, like I said, is the second book in the Nevermore series. I absolutely love this series. I think it's so good. Like, it's just so detailed and so wonderful. Like, it's just wonderful. Like, it makes me full of wonder and full of awe, and it makes me wonder why I wasn't taken to Nevermore. Like, I want to go to Nevermore kind of thing. So yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful book. People do compare it to the Harry Potter books, but I don't really get that vibe. It's a great book series on its own without comparison to other books. Like, it's just its own special, unique thing. I love the Wondermals, which are like animals that can talk and like work as humans kind of thing. Fen is my like top character. Fen is a Magnificat, which is like a giant talking cat who's like more human than cat, but still has like cat, like looks like a cat and has like cat-like tendencies, but really functions more as a human. But Morgan is just, I connect so much to Morgan, like her self-doubt, her like hidden courage, like she's afraid of everything, but she's like, I guess I gotta do it anyway kind of thing. I love that because that is so me. And I just like, I don't think there's been a middle grade book that I've enjoyed as much as this one in a long time, because I just really connect to Morgan, and like who she is at this age is very similar to who I was at that age, and I really, really recommend it for all kids. And kids at heart, because that's what I am. So this was 5 out of 5, absolutely. And this was for the TBR prompt heard about on YouTube, because everybody on YouTube is talking about the Nevermore series. So I can't wait to read the third one, but unfortunately I could not fit it into my December TBR, so I am gonna have to hold off on to it, unfortunately, until January at the latest. So that bums me out. The next one I read was Little Witches, Magic in Concord by Lee Dragoon. This was an ebook graphic novel that I picked up, and this is based on the book Little Women. So Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which is my all-time favorite book. I absolutely love Little Women, and in this specific one, they are not just little women, they are little witches. So they are being trained by Marmee on how to control their magic and just kind of use it for a domesticated thing. Kind of reminds me of Molly Weasley from Harry Potter. Like, like they're learning how to use their magic to bake and knit and all that stuff, and like not really needing to do anything big, but like plant a garden and stuff like that. Simple witchcraft. However, there's some really big witchcraft going on in Concord, and people are looking at them and kind of blaming them for it, even though they're very peaceful witches. So a witch hunter is called in, and that happens to be Laurie and his grandfather, who we know from the original book series to be Joe's love interest. Kind of. I don't want to ruin the book, but kind of. If you guys haven't read Little Women, you know what I'm talking, or like if you have read Little Women, you know what I'm talking about, but like, you know. But anyway, so witch hunters move right next door to these four little witches, and, you know, fingers are getting pointed at them for some of the bad witchcraft that's going on in town. So this one I gave a 3 out of 5 star, just because it was based off of Little Women pretty well, but there were some things that I did not like about it. For example, like the character of Amy said capital, which she would have never said because that was considered a boyish term, and Amy was like a very girly girl in the Little Women book. Beth's illness wasn't like as dramatic as in the Little Women book. Like it was kind of like a, oh, I'm sick kind of thing, not like a, I'm half dead on a bed kind of thing. So didn't really enjoy those aspects about it, but I did appreciate some of the more like tributes to Little Women and the own twist on things. This was for the prompt 2020 release, and I don't know, I think it's going to be a series. I don't think I'll continue on with it, but it was interesting and fun to read. The next book that I read is Slappy Birthday to You. This is the first book in the Slappy World series by R.L. Stine. This is about a boy named Ian whose 2 cousins are destined to ruin his birthday because they ruin everything. However, when he receives a Slappy dummy for like working on ventriloquism, he decides that they are not getting their hands on it, and he is determined to beat them in a family talent show with this ventriloquist dummy. However, he says some magic words and the dummy comes to life, and the dummy has plans of his own, and that's to make everybody his slave. So I loved the Goosebumps books growing up. I kind of outgrew them a little bit before the Slappy books, so this was new to me. But I gave it a 3 out of 5 star. It wasn't like great. The thing that I loved about the Goosebumps books when I read them as a kid was the choose your own adventure part. So this isn't choose your own adventure, so that kind of bummed me out, but it was still pretty okay. There were some like scary things to it, like evil dolls. Not my thing. So there were some creepy elements even for me that I would like steer clear of for like younger readers. But yeah, it was okay. I used it for Believe-a-thon. It didn't have a TBR prompt. It was just like a quick read for Believe-a-thon. So the next book I read was Flying Solo. This is by Ralph Fletcher. This takes place in a 6th grade classroom where the substitute doesn't show up. So the kids have full reign of the classroom all day. However, there is a looming elephant in the room, and that is the fact that one of their classmates died 6 months ago, and nobody's really come to terms with his death. He wasn't the nicest kid on the face of the earth, and he kind of annoyed a lot of kids, so he was really bullied. And there are some people that think that it's not a big deal that he died, but there are some people who are truly torn up about it. So they have to kind of force themselves to talk about it despite the fact that there's no teacher there, and they have to kind of come to terms with this. So this book I gave a 3 out of 5 star. I feel like there are elements to it that could have been handled better. Like, it is about forgiving yourself for things you did, but I also feel like there wasn't a lot of like empathy towards the child who died, and he had special needs, and to me, I didn't love that because I am very anxious about people mistreating my nephew who has Down syndrome, and I don't like the idea of people being like, he died, so what? Like, I think that the kid in this book, yes, he had his moments, but the kid who passed away was really a love bug, and he really just wanted people to like him, and there was no real like remorse from any of the kids except maybe like one student felt bad about it, and even she at the end was kind of just like, whatever. So I didn't really love the overall moral. I think it's supposed to be about self-forgiveness, and I understand that that's a good thing to teach, but I also think we need to like learn that like just don't bully people, like, and then if they die you won't have to feel horrible about yourself kind of thing. So yeah, I didn't super love this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 star because there were some good elements in it, but overall I was a little uncomfortable with the overall moral of the story, and it was really sad. It was very heavy for a middle grade book. I didn't like how sad it was. So the next book that I read was Ink by Alice Broadway. This was for the TBR prompt of blindfold pick, so I had to pick it blind. And this is about a world where everything you do from the day you're born is tattooed on your skin. So literally you're getting tattoos as like an infant. But it's tattooed on your skin. So when you die, they take your skin and turn it into a skin book, which is gross. And I really was struggling with that throughout the whole book of like a book of people's skin. However, when a girl discovers that her father has an incriminating mark on his skin, she is worried that he will be considered forgotten and his skin will be burned and he will never be able to be spoken of again. So it brings up a lot of questions, a lot of mystery for her, and she has to try to figure out what this all means. I did give this a 3 out of 5 star. I thought it was okay. The skin book thing really icked me out. Not my thing. I don't think I'll continue on with the series. I also feel like the girl kind of just like, my father was so great, my father was so great, and then she's like, whatever, my dad wasn't that great, he was a horrible person. So it was a lot of like, the last like, I want to say like 100 pages had a lot of information in it, and it went so fast where it was like, I love my dad, I hate my dad, I love my dad, I hate my dad, I love my dad. I'm like, what? And I did end up listening to this on audiobook, so it was even more like, wait, what? And I'd have to like rewind and be like, wait, do we like him or do we dislike him now? I can't keep up. So yeah, so this one, it was just an interesting book. I don't know what else to say. I don't think I'll continue on with the series. I don't know if I'll even keep this book. I love the cover. That's why I picked it up, because I thought it was just a beautiful cover, but it was very weird. I do think it's a book that I'll think about a lot because it was an interesting concept, but it was weird, so. So the next book I read was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is the very first book in the Percy Jackson series, which I had never read before, and I'm so glad I finally got to this. I ended up giving this a 5 star. I absolutely loved this book. This was about Percy Jackson, who discovers that he is a demigod, and he is sent to Camp Half-Blood, where he is then sent on a quest to basically stop the War of the Gods because somebody stole Zeus's lightning bolt, and instead of acting like mature adults, they act like children and just start going to war. So, and Percy Jackson has to stop that. His friends Annabeth and Grover go on the mission with him, and they get into a lot of interesting stuff along the way. I loved this. The adventure was so cool. The atmosphere was awesome. I just, like, there wasn't many elements of it I didn't like. It was a little fast-paced for me, but I even liked that. I never wanted to read this because I loved the movie so much and I heard it wasn't like the movie, but all the good parts of the book are in the movie. Like, so most of the good parts are in the movie. The movie just added stuff and, like, changed some of the quest. But, like, for the most part, it's, like, the same concept, so I didn't hate it. I just got more, it was, like, bonus quests. Like, I had known what quests were in the movie, and I knew how that ended, so this was, like, a bonus quest for me. Bonus, not bonus. Bonus quest for me. So this was really fun. I absolutely love this book. And I also listened to this on audiobook, and it made it even more fun because the person who read it on audiobook did such a good Percy Jackson. Like, it was just, like, the sarcasm, the humor, it was on point. I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, I think that's actually one of my favorite books that I've read this year so far, so I'm pretty happy about that. So the next book I had a physical copy of, and I have no idea where it went. My room is kind of a disaster zone right now. Kind of. This area is not bad, which is why I'm filming over here, but I really gotta use some of Christmas break to clean my room because there's stuff everywhere. But yeah, so the book that I had a physical copy of, but don't anymore because I can't find it, is Savvy by Ingrid Law. And I ended up listening to this on audiobook anyway, so I didn't even use the physical copy. But this is about a girl named Mibs whose 13th birthday, she will get her Savvy, which is basically a superpower in her family. So her family, every single member gets a superpower, and you don't know what it is until your 13th birthday. However, her father is not a Savvy, and he is in a hospital one state over, and he is really, really ill and probably dying. So she thinks that her Savvy can help save his life when she discovers what it is. So she ends up going hitchhiking basically with her brother and some friends to try to get to the next state over to try to rescue her father. But they get into a lot of mischief along the way because obviously they're hitchhiking. So, you know, not a great plan. I did only give this book 2 stars because I wanted it to be more fantastical, and it was kind of just like everyday life with a superpower, and I was like, oh. I wanted it to be like more superpower-y, more epic, but it was kind of like one of those sci-fi shows where like random people are just walking around with superpowers and they don't, like, use them unless they absolutely have to kind of thing. So it was alright. I didn't have a TBR prompt for this. It was just for Believe-a-thon, but it wasn't anything special. It is a series. I don't think I'll continue on with the series because, again, I didn't really care for this first book too much, but I did think, like, the concept was good. I just wanted it to be more like, and then she goes to a magical school or something like that. Like, it was just kind of like kids with superpowers who don't really use them unless they have to. So, meh. So the next book that I read was The Last Kids on Earth by Max Brailer. This book was so fun. The graphics are just so silly and cute. So this is about a boy named Jack who has been surviving on his own for 42 days, and he is in the middle of a monster zombie apocalypse. He has no access to anyone until he finally meets up with his best friend, and they decide to go on a mission to save his crush. His crush, he last saw at the school that they went to, but every time he goes by there, she's not there. So he's hoping that he can help her and save her from the zombies and kind of just live in a happy zombie life together. This book was really cute. I gave it a 4-star because it was just so weirdly adorable. It was also like borderline YA. It used some like language, like there was like times when it would cut off swearing, like son of a, and then just stop, and then it would also say like frickin' and stuff like that, which I feel like older middle schoolers really like they want that, like, okay, we're not babies anymore, like, give us some, like, real books. So I feel like this would be a really good read for, like, some older middle schoolers. I gave this a 4-star. It was funny, and I just read it for Believe-a-thon. It didn't have a TBR prompt. The next one that I read is Brown Girl Dreaming. This is by Jacqueline Woodson, and this is actually a poetic memoir of her life. She grew up kind of split between the South and the North. Her grandparents lived in the South, and she grew up in the South in the 1960s, being very treated as a black child in the 1960s, who was still being segregated, even though they weren't supposed to be, kind of thing. And then her mom lives in New York, and she ends up moving to New York with her mom, and it's very more open to her skin color, to her aspirations and stuff like that, and she has more opportunities there. So she's really torn between her love of the South and her love of the North, and that's kind of what the book's about, is just her journey of trying to find home and finding where she belongs. I gave this a 3 stars. It was for the TBR prompt mental health rep. I would say there's mental health rep because the mom isn't like a great mom. Like, she's kind of selfish, but also I'd say it has some mental health rep because it's just kind of like, I don't know, like the girl is very nervous about things. She's got a little depression. The grandmother is very anxious. There's a divorce in it. So, like, you know, there's like different like low-key mental health, but it's not like straight up like need to go to therapy kind of mental health, but there's definitely some mental health rep in here. I thought there was going to be more based on what I had read, so that's why I used it for that prompt, but it ended up being less, but I could still see how it would fit-ish for that. So this is a poetic memoir. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. I just didn't super connect to it. I do love the cover and the deckled edges. The book is absolutely beautiful. And I do think that there are people out there, younger kids, who would really enjoy this. It was just kind of past where I am in life. And it was a good historical thing, but it just wasn't anything I was super interested in. So the next thing I read was an audiobook called 20 Random Short Stories. This is by the author Martin Lundqvist, which I think I said he was German in one of my past videos, but that was wrong. I'm pretty sure he's Swedish or Polish. I can't remember now. But he wasn't German. I know that. These are just really random short stories. There is everything from like a fantasy about a fairy or like an elf or something, and then there's like a story about adultery, like literally random short stories that are like 2 minutes long each. The whole thing was only 1 hour and 48 minutes for an audiobook, and it was just weird. I didn't like it. There were so many mixed morals and like things that made me go like, WTF? Like, what is that? Like I literally like Snapchatted myself reacting to each short story to my friend and being like, who does stuff like that? Like, it was just weird. I did only give it 1 star because it was super confusing. I did not get a lot of it. yeah, it was just bizarre. I did listen to it on Scribd. If you guys want to listen to a little bit of it, you guys can be the judge yourself. But yeah, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. So the next book that I read is Pegasus Olympus at War by Kate O'Hearn. This is the second book in the Pegasus series. The Pegasus series is about a girl named Emily who in the middle of the night, Pegasus from the story of Hercules lands on her roof in the middle of a thunderstorm of her apartment building. So she ends up going up and trying to care for Pegasus and get him back to Olympus, where she discovers something about herself. And in this book, she is doing everything she can to get back to her father and make sure he is safe. And also there is a war brewing on Olympus and she needs to help stop that, basically. She's also struggling with like this inner thing that she discovered about herself, and she doesn't believe it's really necessarily true. So, this book I gave 3 out of 5 stars. The last one I also gave 3 out of 5 stars. I read these books because one of my dancers loves the series and she lets me borrow them, and she like gets really excited when I finish one and brings me the next one right away. So she's really loves this. I did use this for a prompt for Believe-a-thon for beautiful cover, because I mean, look at this cover. It's gorgeous. So yeah, they're okay. There's a lot of like telling instead of showing. So for those of you out there who have ever taken a creative writing class, there's like a rule, like you have to show, don't tell. So like instead of being like, the moon was out, you'd be like, the glint of moon on my glass was shining brightly, like kind of thing. So there's a lot of just like, Emily walked. Like, okay, then what? That kind of thing. So, but the overall plot line's cute, and I really love the atmosphere. I love the concept of Olympus, and how they display New York City is also beautiful. So, I didn't hate it. It was pretty good. It just wasn't, it's not like my favorite series, but the more she keeps giving them to me, the more I'll read, because I always want to support my dancers' readings, that they're doing. So, forever, I will always read whatever they hand me. So the last book that I read this month was The Elephant by Peter Carnivus. This was a super short book about a girl whose father is struggling with depression, and she sees that depression in the form of an imaginary elephant who's following him around all the time. And as the elephant gets bigger, she really wants to be able to stop the elephant once and for all and send it away. I gave this book 2 stars because I really struggled with the overall ending. So the girl is determined to get rid of the elephant once and for all. If you know anything about depression, depression comes and goes your whole life. You can be medicated, you can be at the happiest moment of your life and feel horrible. It's not anything anybody else is doing. And this kind of teaches kids that like, oh, if you go out of your way to cheer someone up, they won't be depressed anymore. That's not true. Like, it's such a sad thought to think of that. Like, that puts so much pressure on a child to teach them that, like, oh, like, your dad's really sad, you should do this, 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 and this, and then he'll cheer up. Well, what if the dad doesn't? You know, what if that depression is too strong? What if he needs something more than his child just cheering him up? So, and again, the elephant can go away, but it could also come back, so you have to kind of keep that in mind too. So I was really sad reading this book just because I didn't think it taught children correct things. I did go for the 2-star because I loved the imagery of depression displayed as an elephant, because that's what it feels like sometimes. As somebody who has depression, it feels like an elephant is just on me sometimes. Like, not even behind me, like the little girl's imagining it, but just like on me. Like, where I'm like, I have so much that I need to do, but I just can't. Like, you know, and it just makes you sad to think of all the things that your depression is forcing you to just kind of like stay down from. Like, it's like pushing you down kind of thing. So I loved that imagery. Just didn't love the overall moral at the end. So I do wish it was kind of displayed like the elephant got smaller. Like, I cheered him up, the elephant got smaller, and that's okay for right now kind of thing. Not that the elephant went away completely. And I'm sorry I just spoiled that book. That was horrible that I spoiled that book. But I feel like I needed to spoil that book to understand, for you guys to understand depression in general. I'm sure there are many of you out there with depression who will agree with that sentiment, that like it doesn't go away, it can get smaller. And I feel like that would have been a much better image to teach kids, is that it gets smaller, it doesn't go away. But yeah, those are all the books I read in November. I did have one book that I DNF'd. It was a book that I was reading with the girl that I tutor. However, we've kind of put tutoring off on hold for right now until the new year. So I knew I wasn't going to finish it this year anyways, and that was The Secret Book of Ballet by, don't remember who wrote it. I will write the name of who wrote it down here if I remember to do that. But it is just like an Amazon only book. And we just put tutoring on hold for right now, so I'm not going to finish reading it right now. I also had wanted to read The Magic Treehouse Dinosaurs Before Dark with the other kid that I tutored. But again, we put tutoring on hold until the new year, so I didn't get to that one. And then the other one that I didn't get to was Crowns of Croswald by D.E. Knight, which was supposed to be a NetGalley book. I just could not get it to download. Like, I tried a billion different things. The only way I could get it to download was on my laptop, and I physically can't read a 229-page book on my laptop because my laptop is horrible. Like, and it would just keep dying, and I would have to keep it plugged in and like stay in one position, and that just would not work for me. So if I can figure out how to download it on my Kindle, I will read it, but I just couldn't get it to do that right now. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up, and I hope it was informative to you, and you guys check out some of these 5-star books and maybe avoid the 1-star book. But if not, go check it out because it was weird. It was weird. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!
Wasn't that a great video? Clearly books make me very happy. Now you can make me happy too. Click the subscribe button to follow my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you think I did good. And the notification bell will let you know when I post new content. Also, follow my Instagram for more book shenanigans.